There is a meeting tomorrow night at 6 o'clock at the Woodlands Township, and one of the topics has been about retirement benefits. This wonderful, wonderful benevolent program that they have going at the Woodlands Township. It's incredibly generous, and the informed people who live here need to weigh in on what is appropriate, what's the right thing, what's fair. So Gordy Bunch was kind enough to join us tonight. He's going to talk about this a little bit with an eye towards you guys at least attending that meeting or sending an email with your point of view on it. Gordy, thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Real quick, I'm not sure that we're actually going to have this on the agenda tomorrow. Jeff Long, one of our directors' father passed away today, and he's got some strong opinions of it, so I've asked him to pull it from the agenda so we could have full board consideration. So say a prayer for Jeff and his family. But yeah, the issue won't die. It'll just be moved to the next month. And it's not time sensitive, so a month is not going to kill us. Essentially, the issue comes up with our current 401A match that we have for our township staff. And this is coming from a study that was done when we moved from the Woodlands Community Association and the Town Center Improvement District into this special purpose government, or special purpose district. The match that we have today is a 200% match up to 7% of salary and overtime. So if they put in $1, we put in $2. I thought that was a little bit generous, given that most 401ks are not that generous. So the argument is, well, the study says that that's what the city of Conroe does, and what the city of Shenandoah does, and what the city of Oak Ridge does, and you know, there's truth to that. That other cities of our size are doing those types of match. But they're not doing them into 401As. They're doing them into a system called TMRS. And I call that comparing an apple to a watermelon. The TMRS system is a hybrid cash balance account pension plan, and it has variations of what our 401A looks like. But they're not the same. You're funding two different things. In the TRMS program, someone who annuitizes never runs out of money, and those requiring additional funding in order to make sure that they don't. In our 401A fund, they're individualized accounts. They're able to direct their investments, and they can earn whatever they can earn off the market based on their risk tolerance. At the end of their service, they're invested in 5 years fully. The money's theirs. In a TRMS plan, if they get a guaranteed 5% interest on their funds, and when they're at retirement, they have to choose a benefit, which is a single lifetime payout, joint survivorship options, which is a lesser payout, or a period certain. The lump sum option at that point is 75% of their fund. So we're currently trying to match that program versus an all-cash account, which has more control, more investment opportunities, and doesn't have that 25% lump sum penalty. So I'm advocating that we get a review of how do you balance that. I'm not advocating that we strip our employees' benefits down to the bone and make them all, impoverished when they go into retirement, but we can't justify giving a 200% match and compare it to a pseudo pension plan and then say we don't have a pension plan. We don't. Our 401A has no unfunded liabilities, but we're funding it like a pension plan. So I asked TMRS, okay, we've only been a township since 2010. How many new cities and foreign plans in TMRS since 2010? I think there was 18. 13 of those have a 1-to-1 match. 4 have a 2-to-1 match, and the balance has a 1.5-to-1 match. So the larger cities are leaning towards 2-to-1, but again, the benefits at the end of the day are different. And I'm only looking at having it reviewed so we can come up with a real number that makes sense, that's sustainable and right for our employees and for the taxpayers who pay for it. So anyways, I was going to advocate that people show up because not a lot of people are interested in talking about it. When I say 200% match, I hear people over here cringe, right? Because it's not normal, and I think we should have it addressed. So,
Is that what you're asking, is to have it addressed?
yeah, I'm wanting it to be reviewed, where we can actually compare 401A contributions to other municipalities and special purpose districts that have 401As. Right now, we're comparing ourselves to pension plans and TRMS, which is a hybrid. So, sure, John.
What's the vesting period of the TRMS and
There's different variations. In TMRS, each city can have their own plan. So like in TMRS plans, you can have a cost of living adjustment built into the retirement benefit. In the 401A, it's a cash account. So it is whatever you have in it. So the funding needs are different based on plan design. Vesting periods can be anywhere from 5 years to 10 years in a TRMS. Our 401A is fully vested in 5 years. So they earn 20% vesting each year for the first 5 years.
I just wonder, what do they do? I mean, across, whether it's TMRS or this plan that you're speaking of, what do they do a 2-for-1? Are their salaries less than, let's say, a private sector or some sort of staff position?
It depends on how you want to compare. So that's one of the arguments that's being made, is that our positions pay less than the private sector. Well, they don't pay less than my private company. They pay at or above where I'm paying people for similar like roles. They do pay less than Exxon, and they do pay less than Anadarko. And also they pay less than the city of Houston. So it comes down to what is a relative fair comparison. I mean, you can find an inequity depending on who you pick. Now, in the private sector, just so we become clear, the average 401k match is a 1-to-1 match up to 3%. So when we're talking about 2-to-1 up to 7, it's substantially higher, and even the most generous private sector plans rarely approach an 8% 1-to-1 match. So I'm just trying to balance it. We have a benefit because we're not incorporated. Everybody always tells me that this is a great thing because we're not a city, we're saving money on not having all these extra expenses, but then we're copying the city's most expensive retirement plans and using it to justify it. So,
I want to ask you, I've been through this in Houston, sort of. What pressure is coming from special interest groups
on this, it's me.
You're the special interest group?
I am a registered investment advisor,
Yeah,
a registered stockbroker, and a licensed insurance agent.
yeah,
This is my field,
I know, but
and it's excessive.
but employees, special interest groups, what's out there? What's behind the scenes?
We don't have unions in the
I know,
township.
but who's really interested in this besides you?
Well, as far as having it reviewed,
Yeah.
I can't speak for other directors. I know others are not as interested in reviewing it because they think it's fine. But just because other people do it doesn't mean make it right.
Right.
And just because, we want to be, we need to be competitive to retain our staff, but we also need to be conscious that a 401A is not a TMRS plan. So if you want to justify it, show me a 401A that has the same match.
Okay.
There isn't. They're not out there. I've been looking.
What else is on the agenda tomorrow night?
I kind of got distracted thinking about directing along. But anyways, one last question.
How many employees does the township have?
We're close to 400 employees. So there's other complicating factors. We start talking about the fire department. And if the fire department last year approached us to create a pension, which they have a right to force, and in their own pension documents, they were advocating a 1-to-1 match. So it's not like I'm off the charts here. The fire department even suggested a different match than what they currently have.
Yeah.
And the reason they did that is because in a pension plan, they can dictate the payout to be a higher benefit. And in the TMRS plans, they can dictate in those plan designs a higher payout than what their cash accounts accumulate and actually would provide. So it's pooled, it's not the same.
And I would be a proponent of taking these government pension plans that have all these unfunded liabilities that are exacted upon the future taxpayers and converting those into cash plans. TMRS and all of the firefighter pension plans are all very generous.
Yeah.
And like you, I carry some financial credentials as well. And I'm an advocate of taking all of these government pension plans that the legislature has voted for themselves, and that our cities and our counties and other government entities have all voted for themselves, and they have these huge pensions
Yeah.
that are very attractive, and most of them are unfunded. I would love to see those all converted into 401As, other cash type of.
Yeah, but the question's gonna be then, when you convert it to the 401A, what is the appropriate match going to be?
From there forward, and
Yeah.
I believe that is certainly the question that
That's the
you
question
brought.
I'm
Yes,
asking.
you brought that question.
Right, I'm
And-
bringing that
and-
question
And I think a
up.
2-to-1 is a little over the top as well, but for some reason, government seems to be over the top for themselves.
I think we're in a unique environment because we're not a municipality. There's nothing like us in Texas as far as this size, this kind of economy. So they took what they could compare to, which is another municipality in a different type of plan. You know, I've come out and said, look, we can lead in this discussion. We can be the first to solve the question and say this is what makes sense. And what I'm looking for is actuarial support to say, look, a TMRS plan with a guaranteed 5% credit and these kind of payouts, you know, that's why you're funding it 2-to-1. And we're saying we don't want to have a pension, so why do we want to fund a cash account like it's a pension? So I don't know what the solution or what the answer is, but I've advocated that we look at it and that we come up with a agreeable long-term plan so our employees can plan properly and so the town knows what their expenses are going to be long-term. So, all right. Thank you, Brenda.